Greetings. Today we're going to speak about some confusion within the field of science and how it relates to culture. Here in the Western world, we tend to think that the word science is a blanket term and that it pretty much relates to all cultures, but that's untrue. Um, you would say that but there's different types of dances, different types of singing styles that also relates to different types of science. So if I say science, everyone thinks, okay, well, that represents wearing a white lab coat, being in a laboratory, and doing certain experiments with chemicals. But that is a people's way of science, but that's not all science. You have this Sanjiao science, which we call the acupuncture meridian Chinese science system. You have the Ayurvedic Indian science system. You have the African holistic science system, allopathic science, homeopathic science. So you have different types of sciences out here. So the word science represents a way that people relate to the natural world. So if I'm talking about science and I'm talking about how people relate to the natural world, then I'm speaking about a people's culture. And culture represents a people's spirit. So therefore, it implies that to be scientific also means to be spiritual. And to be spiritual also means to be scientific. So you can't be scientific without being spiritual, and you can't be spiritual without being scientific. So, in other words, nature is the scientific word for God, and God is the religious word for nature. Once we understand these things, we'll understand that when we're speaking in terms of healing and health, we have to understand what people are relating to the unseen forces and how do they use that to persuade people that they have the superior science. When we're speaking in terms of basically terms like on the periodic table, you have zinc and calcium and all different types of elements. It makes it very confusing to understand how those things work in the body because those words are coming from a cultural standpoint. If I'm talking about calcium, the word calcium is basically saying ka means spirit, si or si means sun, means darkness. So the word calcium means spirit inside darkness. You see, if I say amino acid, I'm saying amin, aman. The god Aman comes from the word. You get the word amino from Aman or Amin Ra, which you say amen after a prayer. So Aman or amino acid means black. Amino means black. Acid means unclean. So the word amino acid means unclean black god. So you see sometimes you'll see within the word there is a agenda behind the word that keeps certain people away from studying certain subjects. So we're not talking about anything foreign when we're talking about culture and science. They're one and the same thing. So spirituality and science are one and the same thing. Basically, what we have to understand is when we're trying to understand an element, and then you go to the doctor or anyone who understands these terms, when you say the word, for example, zinc, or again, the word calcium, those words mean pretty much nothing. It's just a word, and you have to understand, try to figure out what it means. But to make it more plain, calcium would be like the person who's driving the car. So calcium is something that moves something throughout the body. It's the driver. But in order for the driver to have enough nutrients, you have to have someone who brings things to the car. So that would be iron. So iron helps attract all things to calcium. And once you have the iron present there, because iron is magnetic, it brings other elements and minerals around it. So if you're deficient in iron, you're also deficient in all things because iron is magnetic, so it brings all other minerals together with it. So we have to understand these words that we're using. Zinc would be basically saying that it's something that repairs something in the body. So what I'm basically trying to do is to help people under a clear understanding of basically these words that we're using, because if we're just saying zinc and calcium and potassium, hydrogen, these words don't necessarily mean much to the average person. So science is a very obscure way to explain truth, is what I'm trying to say. When you're explaining something to someone, you have to use Latin words and Greek words and Roman words to express truth. So you would actually get a lot closer to truth using your spirit a lot quicker than you would using a lot of obscure words of science, is what I'm trying to say. You have to not necessarily hear what I'm saying, but feel the spirit of what I'm saying. And that's what we have to understand when it comes to understanding health and how the body works. If I were to say that we have a cultural standpoint of vitamin B1, vitamin B2, 3, 5, 6, these different, you may call vitamin B1 thiamine, and thiamine represents a Greek god, you see. And then you can also call vitamin B1 or thiamine, you can also say that's the color yellow, and you can also call it a flavonoid, you see. So the color yellow, you can say flavonoid, vitamin B1, thiamine, you can say all those are all the same thing. So it's all related to one system, you see. So, and then to go further, I mean, you can go into that even deeper, but those are based off stories of systems there. So all a human can do is have a ritual and a ceremony. So rituals and ceremonies is what every culture does, and they carry that on through their sciences as well. And the word science is basically saying the essence of the psyche. So if you say the essence of the psyche, you would say science, or the psyche essence. So if you're studying science, you're studying the essence of a people's psyche. And the word psyche means butterfly. And that goes into other systems that we may touch on in other videos. But what we have to understand is science and spirituality are one and the same thing. So you cannot be scientific without being spiritual. You cannot be spiritual without being scientific. So if a people are non-spiritual, therefore they would be unscientific, because anything that they would pursue in nature would also cause harm to anyone who's pursuing or acquiring that technology that they create. We'll go deeper into this in more of a presentation form. This is just a quick video for tonight to kind of get the framework of understanding that these terms that we're using are just basically linguistic terms. It's just a language, and that the word language means land gauge, or how people gauge a land. And the people gauge a land based off their relation to spirit. And you have the people called the Huns, and we'll go into that. The Huns, the Hun, which you get the Hunt's ketchup from, and the word Hunts or Huns means without spirit. So when a person was famished, they would say, "I'm hungry," which means they're without spirit or without food. But we'll touch more on this a little bit later. Just wanted to kind of basically clear up some confusion in sciences and whatnot. But we'll go into a little bit deeper. But if you guys have any questions, just put them in the comment below. Keep on staying tuned to this channel. There's a lot more to come, and hopefully the editing will get a lot better as well. But just bear with me for this, and hope you guys are staying safe out there. And guys, have a good night.